Hi, this is Stacia, and I wanted to share another standard game that I played on chess.com. This was against AlekPecev, rated 1718, so a couple hundred points higher than me, and my rating was 1524. So I had the black pieces, and he opened up with c4, the English. So I was actually kind of happy to see this. I've been working on something new against the English, and I've only played it in a couple games so far. So I used to play knight f6 against this, and this is the main move. But the thing is, the way I play it, I end up in a King's Indian defense. And that's not something I'm interested in playing as black. So I've switched to this more principled move, e5, against this. And yeah, it feels better to play this way. I'm liking it so far. Computer calls this the King's English. And then after knight c3, which they usually go to knight c3 or g3, I play bishop b4. And kind of like in a Trumpowski, I'm threatening to possibly double white's pawns here. Okay, and this is called the Kramnik-Shirov Counterattack. All right, so here my opponent made a strange move and went out of book right away. The main moves are basically g3. Yeah, let me pull them up to confirm. Right, knight d5 attacking the bishop. Also queen c2 and queen b3 to protect against this double pawns idea. But my opponent played e4. And it's kind of interesting because in the other game that I played this line at Parma, my opponent Jeffrey also played e4. And in the lines I've looked at, e4 is not really played. They usually play e3 and try to get d4 in. So it's interesting that maybe that's a pattern that at the club level, people are going to be playing e4. So, okay, I played, well, I took here because basically my threat is to double the pawns. I'm going to carry it out. You don't need to do that right away, but I did. And he took with the b pawn. The only thing I don't like about this structure, I mean, it's nice that he has double pawns, but now a lot of times you want to bring your knight into this square, and this is not available. But okay, it's totally fine. So after e4, bishop takes c3, b takes c3. Now knight f6, and so this pawn is actually loose. He defended it. I castled. I do like how quickly you castle in these lines. Knight f3 was played. Now he's hitting my loose pawn. So I got to defend it. I played d6. Bishop e2 is played. And now I play the move h6 just to keep bishop g5 from happening. I think without my dark square bishop, this might get annoying, this pin. So I just like to stop it right away with h6. He castled, and I played knight bd7. Okay, I played knight bd7 based on my coach told me the knight's good here, and that I actually don't need to play h6 because the knight would be defending. But okay, I played h6 and knight bd7. And yeah, and I'm looking to possibly Fanketto the bishop since this square is now occupied by the knight. And a lot of times I look for ideas like c6 and d5 and just busting open the center if it's appropriate. All right, he played bishop e3. So clearly my knight wants to go to the c5 square, which would be a really nice home for my knight. And so he's saying, if you go there, maybe I'll take you, or at least make you think about it. All right, and I play b6. I know all my pawns are on dark squares, but I think it's okay to play this way because I have a light square bishop. My dark square bishop is gone, so he doesn't mind that I'm blocking his path because he doesn't exist anymore. So I kind of like that. And white has the bishop pair, but their light square bishop is going to have trouble getting into the game and always be sort of a defensive piece. And these positions are closed. I mean, unless I bust it open this way, they tend to be pretty closed. And white really only has this one pawn break. Whoops, I'm supposed to be making arrows. White really only has f4 to play for. So that's kind of nice. I also have f5 if I want it. Okay, but I digress. Let's try to go faster, Stacia. Rook b1. Okay, fine, putting his rook on the semi-open file. I go bishop b7. And I like this because if I ever do go f5, then my bishop will be on a lovely diagonal. Okay, h3. He's stopping knight g5, harassing his bishop. I was considering this move. Okay, and a5. Yeah, I'm just grabbing space, and if he lets me, I'm going to play a4 because it will take the square away from white, and specifically the queen, so maybe even the bishop later, so I liked that. He stopped me, but this still stops him from using this square, which I liked. Queen e7. Okay, just connecting my rooks. And knight h4. Okay, I actually thought this was a mistake by my opponent. Turns out it isn't, but it is. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So now his knight has moved. He wants to play f4, clearly. I can't think of any other reason to play this. Oh, I guess maybe he wants to come in here. But the knight is undefended, and I've got my queen here. So clearly I can do a discovery, right, which is what I do. So I take the pawn on e4, and he basically takes me back, and I take his knight. That's all well and good, but something I didn't see, and I need to get better at looking at candidate moves, is that after knight takes e4, what else can white play here? Yeah, white has a pretty interesting tempo move. So now that he's hitting my queen, I don't think this works because unfortunately this comes with check, and that's going to be a bummer because he's just going to move his queen out of the way, and I'm down a lot of material. So that doesn't work. Let's see. So knight f5, what's the best move? Just queen f6. This knight is in desperado mode, so he can look at all this stuff. He can take on h6, probably these are going to be the pawns of choice. So the queen defends them all, and then he can either take the knight, which actually looks best. So he could do that, in which case I have bishop takes e4. So this turns out equal. But I didn't see knight f5, so that is something I need to get better at. You know what it is too, and I wonder if other people have this problem. A lot of times in the middle of trades, a lot of times things feel forced. Like this felt forced to me, taking the knight. But in truth, he had this tempo move, so I got to be on the lookout for tempo moves in the middle of combinations. All right, but luckily he didn't see knight f5, and now I'm just better. I'm up a pawn, and my position's better. He also his pawns are more fractured than before. Yeah, I'm happy in this position. Okay, rook a to d8. So yeah, on the surface, I'm just lining up with the queen, but I also have a concrete idea of going knight c5, and should he capture, I capture with the pawn and I'm on the queen. So that does come into play right away. He sidesteps that, and I go knight c5 anyway. I mean, if he takes, it opens the file for my rook. I'm going to have to fight him for the file, but still looks fine for me. Rook a1. Okay, and now he's just defending his pawn. And now that the rook's on it, the queen can move away. You don't want your queen babysitting, really. don't really want a rook babysitting either, so I definitely like my position right now. All right, bishop d1. I go bishop e7. Yeah, there's a bit of dancing around now because the position's so closed. And I can target his pawns and sort of tickle them, as they say. But I don't have an outward or an outright way to win any of them. So we're just kind of dancing around. I was considering going to this diagonal next, hitting this guy. Notice it's the rook's behind it. But he comes there. I retreat my queen, playing around with the idea of f5. But the king would need, or the queen would need to be on e6 for that. All right, so I'm preparing f5 now. But he's doing a good job stopping f5. He finally takes the knight. This opens up the file for my rook. And now he's challenging me on the file. So I actually thought trading here wasn't so good because rook takes, and I don't have a way to challenge the file because my rook cannot come to the square on d8. So taking is not an option. So instead I just defend. It's kind of funny. I'm going queen e6, queen e7, queen out. It's kind of a funny game, but sometimes these games are like that. The computer says all these moves are fine. g3. Yeah, actually I didn't see this coming. It looks so weakening to me, but this is totally fine. He's going to push on the king side. He's coming for me. All right, so I attack the undefended pawn, but he just brings his king up. Bishop c8. Okay, I had dreams now of getting my queen on e6 because even if he pushes this, I could check him here. I just thought that would be annoying. So, okay, he's pushing forward. I mean, the position's so close, he can do this. Thing is, either one of us, like, he could go for f4 at any time. I could go for f5. I mean, his is really not prepared, so I don't think he's going for that anymore, but I could go for f5 at the right moment. Okay, now he trades. Rook d1. Yeah, and here, I wish I would have taken the rook in hindsight. I don't. I thought, yeah, I don't know what I thought. Taking the rook trades everything, basically, but I'm a pawn up. And I think my thought was, can I win this position? And looking at it from here, I thought it was very drawish. So that is why I didn't go for it. But let's have a look. All right, so queen takes. Let's say queen here. Queen takes, bishop takes. I'm hitting the pawn, but it's defended by the bishop. And let's just play some moves. Yeah, here in this position, I'm up a pawn, but my extra pawn is a doubled c pawn, so not an awesome pawn. It's going to be hard to make a pass pawn here. His king's slightly more active. I have to watch out for this pawn push. This could become a pass pawn here. And okay. Computer says black's winning, basically, but it wasn't clear to me why, so I didn't go for this. But in hindsight, I wish I would have, because what ends up happening is I get in time pressure. And I think this would be easier to play in time pressure than the positions I was in. Okay, so yeah, I play rook f8. It's a funny looking move. It is totally fine. Computer says I'm fine still. And he takes a file. I'm giving it to him. You know, I calculated this. What I like about this is even though he has the file, I'm covering all of the entry squares. So he can't really infiltrate. Okay, I go here. Rook h1. Yeah, I was really wanting to play this, but he does stop it. And I go h5. Not the best move, but it's fine. Let's see what the computer likes here. Computer likes bishop a6, queen e7. So queen e7. I have no idea. Bishop a6. I guess just tying the queen down to this. But you know, this bishop can come here and just defend these. And all right, so it's a tickling move is what it is. So not a lot to do yet. Yeah, and queen d5. And again, I was looking at this saying, should I take the queen? Absolutely not. I mean, undouble white's pawns, give them this strong pawn here. Yeah, it's back to almost drawish after this. So I did not do that. I played queen e7, just sidestepping the trade. He comes back. And now bishop e6. I like this move a lot. So it looks like a blunder because, whoops, my pawn's hanging, except no, check. And I would win the queen. So that pawn is defended tactically. And my opponent sees this, unfortunately. That would have been a nice way to finish. And he goes to d3. All right, so I like the way I play this now. I'm on a mission. I have 30 seconds left and I'm on a mission. All right, so bishop b3, g5. Yeah, not a move I normally play, but it looked natural enough. And it is the best move. He takes, I take. Now I'm lined up. His h pawn is pinned. Getting some pressure here. Again, offering the trade. You know, and maybe it's okay to take. Yeah, computer says yes. So again, with 30 seconds, it's really hard for me to evaluate an endgame. But yeah, I don't think I can win this. I'm up a pawn, but again, it's unclear. So I have a new rule for myself, which I'm actually very proud of myself for following it, especially in time pressure. The rule is if someone offers you a trade like this, don't do it unless you're absolutely certain that you're going to win, or if you're looking for a draw, that you're going to draw. In this case, I'm playing for the win. I don't want to draw. Even with 30 seconds left, I was on a mission. So I should avoid it then. There'll be more chances to trade later. But if I trade now, that's a permanent thing, you know? So I'm leaving my options open by retreating. Okay, rook back to h1 and king g7. King f2, rook h8, queen there, queen f6. Notice this pins the f pawn, rook in, and now bishop g4. And now this queen needs to guard here, otherwise it's going to get really ugly. Bishop comes in and defends. Rook d8. Yeah, and I was thinking about taking the bishop. He defends it. And what do? Rook takes d1 check. Why not? I have 20 seconds left. Now, I do have 10-second increment, so I get 10 seconds per move is what that means. So, you know, it is playable, but stressful for sure. I didn't calculate this completely, I'll be honest, but it just looked good to me. So I took and then took here with check. Computer says queen takes is even better. But again, without evaluating this endgame, bishop versus rook, to me, first thought is that's losing. And computer says black is slightly better. So very interesting, but not something I could see in 20 seconds. So it was bishop takes, leave the queens on. I come back. Yeah, and I'm fighting hard here. Avoid the trade, never trade. Yeah, and I'm making some pretty silly moves at this point because I was down to 10 seconds at moments. He checks me. Yeah, and his queen is very active now in my position. The problem is at any moment he can come like this and get me on the H-file. And did I ever mention I have a bad habit of getting mated on the H-file? Happens to me a lot. Yeah, here we go. I knew this is trouble. Probably Queen F7 offering the trade now is good, even though I have a bishop. But I'm going to keep fighting. Why not? Okay, and here I blunder finally. Time pressure does that to you. The only move to stay alive is to take this pawn with the bishop, which probably my opponent didn't see either. But instead I took here with check. Yeah, bishop takes c4 check, and after king b2, I'm in trouble, right? Because he's going to mate me right here. Queen takes pawn is checkmate. I have to, or almost checkmate. I have to take, but now the rook comes. And yeah, there's that H-file thing I was talking about. And I was back up to 30 seconds here, but I could not find a way out of this. I think I'm just lost. This is checkmate here because the pawn, I do believe this is very close to checkmate. So I have too many threats to figure out here. Yeah, I just pushed the pawn. Yeah, that's probably not my best try. Probably needed to go here. But I don't think it matters. Yeah, it's still mate in one. So, okay, I got mated. Still, I really enjoyed this game. Got to play an opening that I don't really know well, but I want experience in. This King's English, and then the Kramnik-Shirov Counterattack. And I feel like I played valiantly against someone 200 points higher rated. So yeah, interesting opening, right? Playing against the double pawns. Very closed game, I'm learning. Yeah, put my pawns on dark squares. This seems to work fine, so I'll continue doing that in the future. I like this A5 idea. I think if white's not careful, I'll push my pawn all the way to A3, and it could be a real asset. Yeah, the knight's really nice on C5 in these lines. Oh, and I skipped the critical moment. Yeah, knight H4. I'll be watching for this tactic again because, like I said, knight H5 makes things really complicated. So I better be sure before I take that pawn next time. Queen H4, assuming I get a position like this. But I've played 2 games and they were both like this. Again, what I was saying is that this whole thing depends on the pawn going to E4. But it seems like English players like their pawns they like the structure with E4 and C4, like a Maratzi bind type thing. So I expect to see it again, honestly. Yeah, and then it gets kind of funny, you know, like there's some play down the file, and then we're just kind of dancing around. Very maneuvering. I held to my role, never trade. I really liked that I did that. I especially liked defending this pawn tactically. I thought that was kind of cool. Patting myself on the back for a move, right? Hey, I don't make many good moves, so cut me a break, will you? Stop judging me. Yeah, this was suspect. I mean, the computer loves it, but I didn't calculate that. You know, it's like, hey, 30 seconds, let's sack my rook. All right, but I am happy I gave it a fight. Yeah, and then here's the kiss of death when he gets on the H file. Now it's just over. So, all right, I'll chalk it up to time pressure. I have excuses for everything. This one's time pressure. All right, so thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. And I love getting comments. So thanks very much and have a great day.